Carla Atherton, Director of the Healthy Family Formula and host and producer of the Children's Health Summit 4. In response to the rapid rise in conditions such as autism, cancer, ADHD, GI distress, anxiety, depression, asthma, skin conditions, learning disabilities, and autoimmunity, the topic of this year's summit is preventing and reversing childhood chronic illness. And today I'm very excited to be interviewed by one of my brilliant Healthy Family Formula family health coach trainees, Heather Korbmacher. And she's not even really just a trainee. She's like more like a colleague, a friend. You know, we worked on a book project together that we'll talk about, her book, and many, many, many other things. And so Heather has become very dear to my heart, and I'm so excited to be able to be interviewed by her today. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, brilliant woman, Heather.
Thank you, Carla. I am so incredibly honored and privileged to be in this position and to have this opportunity to interview you. As Carla said, we have a long history, and it kind of is hard to imagine for me that just 4 years ago, I first met Carla with the very first Children's and Teen Health Summit. At that time, our family was really in a health crisis. So my background is I have a master's in education. I'm a national board certified teacher. I have over 20 years experience working with kids with challenging behaviors. And 5 years ago, my son presented with a lot of challenging behaviors when he contracted what is currently called PANDAS, pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorder associated with streptococcus. And in my searching, I found Carla, and I found her wisdom and her guidance, and it is my absolute honor to have the opportunity to be interviewing you today, Carla. So without any further ado, let's get started. One of the first things that I want to ask you is if you would please address the kinds of questions that people might have when they first start thinking about a health coach. And I should back up and say that one of the things that I did with you when I found you was I started your Lotus Health program at the time and accessed you as a health coach. So I knew what I needed, but a lot of people who are hearing the concept of a health coach for the first time might be wondering, like, well, what is a health coach? And why would I need a health coach or want to have a health coach? So can you address that?
Yeah, sure. And I think actually people even ask that question even more, you know, when they might say, oh, our family needs, like, you know, we all need to lose some weight, or I'd like to, you know, and they got sort of, you know, money to burn, you know, to be able to spend on something like that. And they could use a little help, and they're kind of in that, you know, financial bracket where they're able to just sort of, you know, do things like that elevate their health. And some families do that, but most families that I work with aren't in that position. Often they're in crisis. You know, you were talking about your family situation, and most of the time they're not thinking they need a health coach. They need a doctor. They need a, you know, emergency medicine. They need, or even if it's not an emergency, if it's like a really big thing, they're still looking to the medical field, you know, for the professionals, right? Like the people that we consider to be at the, you know, the helm of the, you know, family health ship. I don't know, I love metaphor, but anyway, okay, so, you know, so when people come to me, they kind of come to the realization that this is kind of something that's a little more than what they had, you know, I guess assumed a health coach was. So first thing is that a health coach is actually someone who, well, exactly what it says, coaches you through health, right? But what does that mean? What does that mean to coach somebody into, like, you know, to a better state of health than they are right now? And sometimes that means, like, you know, it's, you know, again, like the family that wants to lose weight as a family, and they want to eat better, and they want someone to teach them a little bit more about nutrition and about what supplements are good for them, and, you know, what kind of lifestyle factors they need to take into consideration. And usually, I mean, a health coach isn't there to prescribe anything or to diagnose or to, you know, some coaches can't even test. Although I do. So what I do, so I'm taking that concept of being able to support and guide people and give them suggestions and opportunities to learn and places to figure out what's going on in their own health and how to address those things in a natural way. All of us health coaches are doing those things with natural, you know, methods and things that people can access on their own. You know, it's not like they need a prescription or, you know, any sort of, you know, permission to do certain things. They're really being taught and guided by a person called the health coach. But what I do is a little bit, I would say, beyond that, because I don't only do those things. And I feel like the people that were coming to me and that the people that I wanted to work with and help, those people needed a little bit more than that. So, I got trained in different coaching designations, but, a health coach, like me, and there are many others that are like me as well. There are many I can think of right off the top of my head that do the same kind of work. We're able to do some testing. Most of that testing is, through independent labs, and we've vetted the labs. We know which ones work really well, which ones have good practices, which ones have the best results, which labs are the most relevant, right, to do. We do assessment. So, when people come in to work with us, we get a really good health history, right? So we know what's going on. We can really pinpoint what could possibly be the root causes of health or ill health, I should say, and a child's chronic condition. And then what we do is we guide parents or caregivers and those children into a plan. So we sort of work with them through a plan. We first make the plan, and then we work with them to make that plan happen. So, what is it that I need to do? Okay, I understand that so-and-so my child has got dysbiosis or something that's leading to their reactivity, food reactions. So we've pinpointed that. Let's say we've done that. Then we help them to fix it. So either the parents can do some of those things on their own. They're changing diets, they're changing lifestyle habits, they're, taking some supplements, being really careful to be, cognizant of each person's needs. They're doing all of those things. Doing therapies, they're taking a massage or chiropractic, whatever things that we discuss that might be really beneficial for them. And then also health coaches that I train, or myself, or coaches like me, we also help them to find other supports. So let's say we think that they need a homeopathic doctor or a practitioner, or they need a naturopathic doctor to actually help them access a test that we don't have access to, or to guide them in a way that needs a little bit more medical training. That's when we help them to find supports that are added to the team. So a health coach is really a part of the team, but kind of right alongside the parent, at that level of planning, executing, and supporting, the parents. But really, the parents are at the top. The parents are always at the top, no matter who's on that health team. So that's what a coach does, or coaches like me that do kind of. I don't even want to call myself a coach. I'm thinking of a name. So Heather, if you come up with a name, or if anybody listening says, I know what to call you, like do that, please. So that's what we do. And your second part of your question, Heather, why do we need a health coach? And when people are, especially when people are handling things that are huge, we absolutely need them. This is not, it's like when your kids have chronic illness, it's a marathon at a sprinter's pace. So it really can be. And so, people are, right? Parents are like, got to figure this out. Time's a ticking. Don't want this to last any longer just because currently it's not comfortable for anybody, or because we worry about, what's going to happen later if we don't address it now.
Everything.
Yes. So a coach actually can really be a significant support in helping families get through these things as well, and be able to have a touchstone, change things. What should I do about this, or what resource do I need? And I think that's essential. It's not actually something that should come last when things are good and you feel like you can actually afford to do this, or it's like it's something that's like it actually needs to come first. It needs to be. It's even before the doctor, because a health coach can actually help you find the right support. At least like the people that I train, right? This is what we do, is help you to find those supports as well. Right at the very, very beginning, because it saves a family so much time and energy that they could spend 5 years chasing down, some answers or the right information. And a health coach really has that capability to teach you something right now. It's like studying right before the test, but you get the cliff notes. It's like it takes you all year to study if you want to do it yourself. But if you want the cliff notes, we got those cliff notes. So so that's why I think families need health coaches. especially in those situations where they have something a little bit more challenging, or that's going to take a little more time and support to get through.
Absolutely, Carla. And I know for myself, I really wasn't looking for a health coach. I kind of stumbled across you. And as soon as I met you, I knew that I needed to work with you because, as I said, we were in crisis. And one of the things, well, a couple of things that you really did for me and for my family was just kind of give me a sense of calm and help me feel like I had somebody holding my hand through the process, so I wasn't having to do it alone. And you also just assured me when I was having to make decisions, because I tended to come from a more natural perspective, but I did also have to do medical treatment, and it felt really foreign to me. And you were really assuring, like, no, there are times when we have to really rely on Western medicine, and it's okay to really be comprehensive. And it was just so great to have that assurance from you. And then the work that you did with us in helping us clean out our home was just phenomenal. So that kind of leads me to, and you already talked about this a little bit, but what are some of, like, when you think about all the things that a health coach does, what are all the different areas in a life that the health coach is going to address with a client?
Yeah, well,
the way that you coach.
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, I love that you mentioned that like cleaning out your home, because like a health coach will actually help you pinpoint and zero in and focus on things that you never actually even thought mattered, right? Like, so you've got a kid who has pandas, right? You've got a kid who's got pandas. You're like, what the hell does what kind of cleaner I'm buying have to do with this situation I'm dealing with right now? And the answer is actually everything, because there's, this whole concept of the total load, right? The theory, total load theory, and that was coined by Patty Lemmer, and really be brilliant, because it's about the bucket, right? You put all these things in and eventually it's going to overflow, or the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Like all these things are on this camel's back, and you put the last one and it's like, then that's it. So it's like all of these things create some kind of disruption, right? Some kind of problem, whether it's inflammation, high stress, or toxicity. It's like, even things like, infection, right? Like a lack of, nutrients or something. It's whatever it is. So all of these things will add to this whole situation that can create ill health in our kids. So we're always going through all of these areas. And one of the things that, like, it's always, there's nutrition and what you eat, the food, the diet, right? Like what you're drinking and eating. We're always addressing that. So we're addressing these lifestyle factors. We're addressing, what we're like, how much we're exercising, how much our kids are getting out, what kind of exercise they're doing. We're addressing, the stress level that we might have. And so I'm talking with parents about that for not only their kids, but for them. And I think that's huge. We're always, for the parents. And that's like, we're always, always overlooking ourselves when we are caring for our families, whether our kids are sick or not. We just do that. And so it's a constant reminder, to be taking care of ourselves. So that's another area that I work really hard with parents on, because we do not forget the parents in the equation. Because if they're sick, what's going to happen to the rest of the people? But also parents deserve to have a good, happy life. They should be healthy. What else are you on this planet to do? Just to pass on the torch and have your kids healthy and you're just like shrivel up and die? I don't think so. No. So so we really work hard on that too. And when I say work hard, I don't mean it's like effort. It's just more like paying attention, and actually it's a really nice process. It's a very nice process. So supplements was another area that we look to, when we're assessing what a family or a child might need. And that's really individualized. I have a few heavy hitters that I think are really beneficial for most people, but we got to be careful with that. And people need guidance when it comes to supplementation. We can't just go load up on things, especially when it's high dose. When we're not really sure. And one of the examples is if people have the MTHFR gene, things are sort of slowed down with methylation, and you need to use the proper, the form of it, of the B vitamins, and you have to make sure those methylation pathways are, working properly. And so there are a few things, detoxification you have to keep in mind too, when you're starting to detox or something you really want to do with detox. Well, you have to know what you're doing there. So the guidance is really helpful. And what other areas? Sleep. Oh yeah, sleep. We're looking at sleep. We're assessing how people are sleeping, if they're sleeping, when they're sleeping, why they're sleeping, all of those things. And then how to actually fix that if there's any sort of problem. And then, so rest is another thing, play, joy, getting out in nature. Those things we never overlook either, because I actually think that nature is one of the top things that we need to be, getting more of in our lives. And we talk a lot about this interview with Kirsty Gran. So listen to that interview, because we talk about it ad nauseum, I guess, but still it's a fun conversation. But we're looking at that. Are we having joy? Do we have connection? Are we community? Community is like a huge part of health and wellness. And so then we're looking at environment too. Okay, so those lifestyle things, that we do and be and breathe, and but there's another element to environment that we never overlook either. And so I do give parents a healthy home assessment, or go through it kind of thing by thing. I think at the time when you and I started our wonderful friendship, we were talking, I just kind of like talked about it, and maybe it wasn't a lesson or something, but it was more like a kind of going through things a little bit at a time. But now I have a healthy home assessment that I've put together for parents, and we talk about, like, we look at different, like every corner. Do we have mold in the house? What's the lighting like?
Yeah.
Fresh air? What kind of cleaners are we using? Like, is it a bunch of chemicals? Like, that will cause, and I'm just going to say one thing, an example of why that matters is that mold can cause like all kinds of things, including mental health issues, like huge mental health issues and autoimmune responses, because they're toxic and what they give off are toxins. And also, another example is if we're using really heavy chemical sprays and like Glade plugins, Febreze to cover up odors, like just perfumes and lotions, and just, if you get away from it and you think it's great now because you're like, ooh, this smells fresh, but that's the smell of death. Like chemicals are just no, and they will cause neural inflammation. They'll cause inflammation in the brain. Okay, so that's why you getting rid of all of that stuff in your home is like huge, because parents of children who have pandas understand what a flare is. And so that will create a situation where you have more chance of flaring. The food can do that. Your environment, you're like, those, just the pathogen itself getting kicked up, but that is a part of the cascade that will create brain inflammation. So etc., like cancer, all kinds of things. But we really need to pay attention to what we're breathing in our air, in our environments, and that's what is happening. Our homes are being polluted, actually, with the things we're bringing into our homes. So we want to do a really good, healthy home cleanup. And so we're looking in the cupboards too. Like, I'm not at your house, but you're looking in the cupboards. You're looking at what kind of stuff you're buying at the grocery store. Is it bags, boxes, and cans? Is it, how's your water supply? Is it softened water, or is it like rusty kind of well water? Or is it water from the municipality with fluoride and chlorine? And, there are many ways that, the environment can be polluted and disrupted from the things we actually bring into our homes. What kind of building materials, off-gassing, all that stuff, and what lotions we use, personal care products, all of it. So, and it sounds like, wow, that's a lot, but it really, Wi-Fi is another thing. Wi-Fi is another thing. And listen to Peter Sullivan's talk as well as Lloyd Burrell, because we discuss Wi-Fi and the health effects of that as well in both of those talks. But, so we're looking at all those things, and it sounds overwhelming right now, but really it's actually really easy, because all these things that we think we need and we buy and we spend money on, like, you can actually go and throw it in the garbage and literally replace it with like 10 things, and like 3 of those things are things you will cook with and you can eat, actually you should be able to eat everything that you breathe and put on your skin. Right. So so you're like using things like essential oils to clean your house, as well as, some of them you can ingest if it's a good quality and it's it's not wintergreen or something, or hot oil, like, got to be careful with those. But like, you can ingest them, you can breathe them, you can clean with them, you can change your body chemistry with them. That's one of those things that's just like, you got 1 bottle of lemon and you're doing all that stuff, right? Like, you're doing all of the stuff, right? Or you've got like vinegar. I mean, how easy, how cheap, how easy vinegar is, like smooshing around the toilet, and like, you know, so it like baking soda, you're putting that in your, you know, homemade, whatever, like pecan brownies or something, and you're also like cleaning with it. So it's really just a matter of simplifying things in your life and getting rid of the stuff we think we need because it's supposed to be convenient. So that's another thing we look at when I'm working with an area that I'm working with families. So we always cover that area. So mind, body, spirit. You know, what are we getting? What are we taking in for the stuff we think? And you know, the mind is actually something that we really work on too, because many parents come to me and they're defeated, they're daunted, they're scared, they're worried, they're sick. You know, like they feel kind of sick. You know, and also they feel they're not always healthy themselves. And so a big part of that is changing mindset to a healing mindset. And by addressing all that stuff, instead of it being a burden, it becomes a really great source of empowerment, where it's just like, I'm going to throw this crap away. And it feels so good. And I'm opening the window and we're going to go and play in the park. And we're not going to think about, you know, how sick we are. We're going to actually enjoy how well we're getting. Right. So it's all that stuff, you know, change all of those things we address through my health coaching anyway. Yeah.
That's so great. So you talk about how the parents can feel like listening to this, it could feel kind of overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, I have to make all these changes. How do I do that? And yet you walk the family through it. You hold their hand and you walk them through it. It's one layer at a time and it's one thing at a time. So if somebody's listening to this interview with you, how does a family or how does a parent go out and find a health coach?
Well, I mean, it's the shopping. You got to go shopping. Okay. So, I mean, because it's become like, you know, years ago it was, you know, what is that? People had life coaches first, and then they started to have health coaches. So they would start to like focus in on health rather than just this life coach, because life coaches, you know, it was kind of like for executives and people that were kind of like trying to get to this level, and they wanted someone to teach them how to just go get her, you know, and that's great. But and then also there was this sort of like these like a subset of coaches that were it's sort of like being a life coach, you know, because, you know, it's there's part of that in there, but also it's like focusing on the health. How do we get, you know, because we find with any sort of practitioner, you know, it's really difficult to be able to kind of do all of it, because it's not just like you go to a doctor and you dealt with the immediate stuff, right? That stuff that you're going to die from today. Like that's where they shine. But it's not their job, right? To guide you through. There's no time. The system isn't built for that. Like it's just not even what they're trained to do. And then you go to, like, let's say a nutritionist, and they know nutrition, but they might not actually understand, you know, the mindset piece or you know, sleep and rest, you know, or exercise, or you could go to like the gym and get a personal trainer, you know, learn how to get buff, you know, but like you might not be learning about like releasing trauma, and that being, you know, a barrier for you in your health journey, or, you know, all of that stuff. So the coach really brings it together. And to find one that's right for you, there are many coaches out there, but so some of them are trained in certain disciplines. You might be really like, it just depends who you resonate with. Some coaches are really like focusing on like functional medicine. Like they're like, you know, very clinical, and they take you through like certain tests, and they guide you through like, you know, the results, and they interpret, and they, you know, they're capable of doing that. So you can find those people. And or you can find the people that are doing more natural things. You know, like there's some programs that I'm thinking about that really, we work on like ancestral eating and like going back to that kind of way of life, not just like within the modern, you know, the modern world. But there are many different kinds of like kinds of coaches depending on how they were trained. So you can go online and look for health coaches. But you can also find, you know, like for me, you know, you can find me quite easily online here, and I actually have coaches that I've been training for the last year, and they're just like, some of them are ready to graduate, and they've been really steeped in what we're doing here. So you can find coaches through the Healthy Family Formula, and also get in touch with me. And, you know, but it doesn't have to be anybody that I actually work with. It could be someone that's a colleague. So, always you can reach out to me and, say, what do you need and who you want to work with? And, I have some thoughts as to, the right person, but you can just do it online. And it is kind of like a shopping around. You kind of read people's websites, get a take on what kind of things that they would do, and then you just call them up. Most people will do a 15-minute consult. Often most people who are health coaches, there aren't enough for them to be coaches in every single center. So most people are doing telemedicine. So it's not that hard to actually employ a health coach. They don't really need to be in person. They don't always need to do like as an assessment in person, right? So I would just get out there online and assess that, get a consult, and then figure out who you like and who you would hire.
Wonderful. Thank you. So you mentioned the family health for healthy family formula, which I'm a part, but can't say it. It's like a tongue twister for me. And as we're going through the program, we're taught to teach parents to be their own family's health coach.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that? Because I'm hearing all this and it's feeling overwhelming, but I'm going to hire a health coach, but how do we, through you and through the people that you are teaching, teach parents to be their own family health coach? Okay.
Well, this is another aspect of what we do, right? Like with our families. So as we educate the parents, the parents, as they learn, we're not going to do this. And then, so then they start teaching their kids. I mean, part of it is actually automatic, because this is what we do as parents. We teach our little ducklings, that are in our footprints, wherever we go, they kind of go. So if we're going down this road and we're learning this, they're following along. And so that's one way that it just sort of trickles down. It's a trickle down effect. And that's why, we really focus on the parent's health, or the caregiver. It's not always the parent. It could be grandparent or aunt or uncle, whoever, right? Those people that are caregiving, as we teach them and teach them to take care of themselves, they're teaching their kids to do the same. And so, another thing is that, leading by example. And so if there's a parent that's like eating junk and then they're saying, well, this kid's sick, so this kid has to eat this. Well, that's not going to work, like it's almost like, it's not almost like, it's where we take the whole family into consideration and the habits of each of those, like all of the people, so that the whole family is getting better. And the whole family is benefiting from all of this. And it's not just one person who was sick and we had to get that one kid better. Because for one thing, it's like nobody wants to be that kid. And it's not a nice experience. It's not a nice experience for you. And, it's like, so if we consider it like a family mission, or I guess journey, I don't know, find the right word there. But then that is much more beneficial for everybody involved. And so the parents, they naturally will teach. So we teach the parents, right? We don't work on the kid. We don't say, we get on Skype and say, Johnny, you should be eating. And we do some teaching like that when needed and figure that out when that needs to happen. But it's really teaching the parents how to feed their kids, and then the kids learn how to feed themselves. And I have made up a document that's, it's called, what's it called? Optimizing. No, that's a different one. It's something about, I'll post it under this talk, but I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, which is
good idea.
But it's like, it's all about teaching your kids self-care. Oh yeah, teaching kids, the challenge of teaching self-care to your children. And, right? Because
we don't want to follow direction.
Yeah, and it was really
great.
They don't
want to do what they're told.
I know they don't. No. You don't tell them what to do. You lead, you show, you listen. You listen more than you talk, actually. Kind of the trick with that. But I have all kinds of tips in there about how to do that.
So do you need to have a degree to coach your own family into health, or what is it that you need to know, or do you just need to be open to learning? The
former. Open to learning. You do not need a degree. You got a degree when you birthed that baby. Like seriously, like that was right. Like that was, your testing moment. And then, it's like a natural thing to want to learn, to protect your children, to help your children. This is the best position anybody could be in. You're the biggest cheerleader for that kid. And so, you don't need that, but yes, there needs to be an openness to learning, because we always have to question where our information has come from and re-listen to our intuition. and what we know is right and what we know makes sense and what we understand about our kids and what we actually want to do for them and with them to help them, because we actually have more knowledge than we think. We know way more, and often we get sort of led astray because we doubt ourselves, we get scared, and we do. Everybody does. That's the nature of, parenting. It's not always like, well, I know what I'm doing and I'm the greatest. We make mistakes tons of time. Every day I make mistakes. But the point is to learn from them, to be curious, to be open, and not to be duped by be really cognizant of advertising. I always tell people, Ronald McDonald doesn't give a damn about your kids, so I don't care. Right. There's this promise to be happy with your Happy Meal. You got to remember that this is not making your kids happy, and then you teach that to your kids, because those kids are being marketed to. They think it's going to make them happy, so they're going to pressure you. But it's like, well, I'm being pressured, and I should, I'm being too hard on this, and I'm kind of, being the party pooper. But then if you think about it, your kids don't actually want it. They're actually being advertised to so that they think they want it, and then somebody's just making a bunch of money off of you. So, if we think a little more critically, I think that is huge. Think critically and always observe, where's this thought coming from? Is it because I was taught this and I was sort of over and over and over again? And is it true? Is this really actually true for us? So, yeah, I think that we have way more knowledge than we think. We just need to be open to new things and always assess whether or not it makes sense for your kids, does this make sense to do this? Does it make sense to eat this or take this supplement or blah, 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 go to this, therapist. And if it does, then explore it.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful tips. Thank you. So, Carla, in addition to all of this amazing work that you do, you put together the summit, you are a health coach yourself, you are teaching others to be a health coach through the Healthy Family Formula. You also have another really interesting hat that you wear. You have a master's degree in English literature. You are a writer and you are an editor. In fact, you were my editor for my book, What Happened to My Child, A Mother's Courageous Journey to Save Her Son. And through that process, not only had you already helped me heal my family as my personal health coach, but through the process of editing, one of the things that you said to me that really, obviously resonated was, because I thought I was telling my son's health story, and you said, no, this is your story. You're telling your story. And at first I was kind of like, yeah, I don't really want to tell my story. But it really made the book much more powerful. Why is it that you think it's so important for parents to tell their own stories?
Oh, I love this question. I always give long answers. People just have to get used to that about me. But this this is so near and dear to my heart, because I'm a reader and I'm a writer. You said I have a master's degree in English literature, but this was writing and reading really pulled me through really hard times. And first it was pulling through, but it's survival for me personally. And so when I was young, I started reading, and I was like, wow, I actually really like this. It actually made me feel like I was smart. I never felt I was smart when I was a kid. I thought it was dumb and, this little skinny, little big tooth, little thing that didn't know anything, right? Quiet. And then
look at the brilliant woman you have grown into.
You're so sweet. But then I found my voice somehow, because I think I started to read, and I started to figure out how to organize my thoughts and making sense of my world through what I was writing, what my own experience was, observing that, being self-reflective, right? Being able to, that's another reason why I think that parents who are thinking critically and open and self-reflective can actually make the best decisions. That's when we find our real intuition. And that's when we can find, and so then we embark on all first we recognize these heroes' journeys that we're already on. We are on a hero's journey right now. And we keep having we have this big, Joseph Campbell talks about the hero's journey. Love it. I teach it in every one of my creative writing classes that I teach. And I teach it in this way where there's this whole journey that we have. So we start off, we're born, and then our hero's journey is our whole life, and then we return back to where we came from. We're back to the dust, But we return in a different form. We're changed, and we bring all that wisdom that we've gathered through our life. but also we have all these smaller heroes journeys, you know, all these little other circles of, you know, and so we have like something that bugs us, like a child's illness, and then we're like, wow, that shakes us up, makes us branch out on this journey, and we go and we experience and we fail and we triumph and we cry and we laugh and we do all these things, and then we return back, you know, with some kind of resolution, some kind of understanding that we didn't have before. So we have all of these things that happen in our lives that add to this bigger hero's journey that we call our life. And so when we tell that story, not only is it more empowering for us, it makes us make better decisions. We're healthier, we're happier. If we're talking about that whole triad of health, you know, mental, emotional, spiritual, or whatever, or there's more than that actually. But if we're talking about all those aspects of health, that lends itself, that actually makes us healthier, because we not only feel more fulfilled spiritually, we actually think differently. We've taken on, you know, we think about other things that people are saying, what are they doing? We're assessing, we're trying it on, we're saying what's right for us, what's not. And then we're also physically better because we're making better decisions. We're more clear on what we need. You know, so I think because like lack of clarity will create like freeze, that fight, flight, freeze. Don't know what to do, don't do anything, and we just sort of think that's it for me, and it never is. As long as you're alive and kicking, that's never the end. So so this whole hero's journey is really important for parents to make, you know, good decisions in their life, to be fulfilled, happy, all that, which is the whole goal. It's not just to survive, because we can get in survival mode in this place that we're at when we have children who are not well. But it will, I have to say to parents who are in that spot, it will pass. You can get through it. You will get through it. It does not need to be forever. It does not need to be forever. And so that is one aspect of telling our stories, because for our own benefit and for the benefit of our own kids, it's also to map out where we've been, so where we've come from and where we've gone. And how cool is that, Heather, to read your story and go, oh my gosh, like this is where it started and this was where I came to. It's just so...
It's hard for me to believe it.
Isn't it? Yeah. So that, for that reason as well. But also because there's a whole community aspect to this. It's a reaching out to other people. It's telling people they're not alone. It's telling people that they can persevere. It's being encouraging. So once you come back from that hero's journey, you bring back that wisdom to your community, to your family, to the people you care about, and the people you don't even know that you know, email you in the middle of the night and tell you that you changed something in their life, right? That's the thing. That's another reason why, you know, telling your story is so important. And people think, well, this is such a, you know, like a selfish endeavor. It's like, oh, I'm so great, and I'm too shy. I don't feel like I'm so great. Well, you are great, and own it. You did this, and it's like, how big or small it is, you know, in the scheme of things, you did it, and tell it. Like, I mean, not everybody's a writer, but if you have that desire to speak your story, by all means, do it. So I think that's why, you know, storytelling is so important and sharing, you know, with other people for that, you know, that community aspect and encouragement of other families that have gone through, or that are going through this, and you've gone there before, and you can lend them some support.
I love it. So I have one last question for you, Carla, and I think I know the answer because of what you were just sharing and talking about the hero's journey. But when it comes to healing our children and doing all of that work, in your estimation, who do you think are the real heroes?
Well, you know, you're right. You do know the heroes, the parents, right? I mean, yes, we have many heroes. We have heroic doctors. We have heroic health coaches. We have heroic, you know, massage therapists. My massage therapist, I asked for him for Christmas. I'm not even kidding, because he's helped me through so many. I wanted him wrapped up and under my tree. I'm not even kidding, because I'm like, please, I just, you know, so he's helped me so much in my life, you know. But, you know, we have many, many heroes. But really, like, for these kids, their hero is are the parents, for sure. Or the caregivers, right? The caregivers, yeah.
Wonderful. I love everything. We could just do this for days. I always feel so blessed when I have an opportunity to spend time with you. Thank you so much for sharing. And I just want to do a plug, if I may,
Yes.
for the Healthy Family Formula.
Oh.
And anybody that is looking or is watching this and realizes that a health coach would really benefit them in helping them make the decisions and just kind of get through the overwhelm, can reach out to you, and you'll have your information, of course. And then the Healthy Family Formula, whether it's for accessing a coach or becoming a coach and learning how to be empowered themselves. So it's just a really wonderful program. And I thank you so much for everything that you've done to put that together. I can't even imagine how many hours that you've put into just with your own self-study, but also into creating this amazing program as well as the summit. So thank you so much, Carla, for all that you do for our community, for empowering parents to be the true heroes in healing their children.
Oh, thank you, Heather. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you for doing this, Heather. It was really wonderful. You did an awesome. It was just awesome. And I'm gonna do a shameless plug for you as well. Heather's book is called "What Happened to My Child," and we're gonna she's done a couple of talks for the summit, so there'd be lots of information, links, everything under there. She also has other things that she does. So you can find Heather a lot of places as well. So much love to you. Thank you so much for interviewing me for the Children's Health Summit 4, and we'll see you next time.
Wonderful. Sounds great. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this interview, and be sure to listen to more interviews from this timely and groundbreaking series. If you would like more information, guidance, and support through your family's health journey, and or want to join our growing community of professionally trained family health coaches, please visit us at healthyfamilyformula.com. Together, we can turn the tide for the future health of our children. May you and your families be well.